Welcome back to the show. There's no telling where we'll go. So come and share a laugh on the Imp and Skizz podcast.
So, how's it been? Full year almost coming up of
Almost?
just like not having to go work out of a cubicle and attend daily stand-up. What are they? DSUs?
That's it. DSU, daily stand-up.
Daily stand. That's it. That's the up. Yeah. Yeah. You see, I've purged. Have you tried to purge?
You didn't purge
any
anything. You just nailed it.
Yeah.
So don't give me your purge.
I was like
nonsense.
looking for what's the U.
You're trying to pretend that you purged it.
I don't miss it. I don't miss the acronyms. I don't miss
Me neither.
the being on the clock. How about you?
I don't miss it, but I also had the luxury of kind of being on my own schedule anyways for a long time there in my other career. Very rarely in the cubicle. I was working from home for a year before COVID even was a thing. So
Pretty good gig.
it was a good gig. There's no question.
Yeah.
There's no question. However, it did come with, there was, as loose as they were, there were still some shackles on me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In regards to what we're going to be working on, what we're going to be doing. It was very difficult to be creative in that space. Not impossible, but kind of difficult. And you're always answering to somebody, and having a boss and stuff, which is I just knew at an early age was not going to be for me. So here I've been full-time content creation for almost a full year now. So it's a kind of
That's crazy,
interesting to
dude. It
reflect
feels
on.
like yesterday that you were like putting in your notice,
Yep.
and this was it. I mean, what you're doing, being a content creator, YouTube, Twitch streamer, podcast co-host.
Yeah.
Was this always like in your, I mean, not always, because being a content creator wasn't a thing when we were growing up.
Right.
But like since this has become a thing, was this something you had your targets on like from early days?
I would say most definitely. It was something I definitely wanted. There was no question that I wanted it. How realistic it was eluded me. I didn't, for the longest time there, I just wrote it off as it's just not going to be a thing. But I kept pursuing it. So yes, it is always something I wanted. And if I go back to when I was a real young kid, I remember it being odd to go to see a play and sit in the audience seats because I was always on stage. You know what I mean? So that was weird. So I knew, or at least I felt like I knew, I was supposed to be wrapped up in this world on some dynamic. I didn't know what that dynamic was going to be, but I also knew that I'm not, and a lot of people I think are like this, I'm not built for the corporate world. I'm just not. I'm not built for it. I knew I needed a tremendous amount of freedom, but I've learned a lot in this past year that it's not what you think. It's just, you know what I mean? There's so much great about it, but
That's what I want to get into.
Yeah.
But I do want to just real quick take a trip down memory lane to the day that we were sitting in Taco Bell and the idea of creating a YouTube channel and Minecraft content and all that was something we were discussing at the table. And I remember, we spun our wheels, of course, because we started diving into the logistics of it and realizing, I think we started thinking about how taxes were going to work, and we immediately were like, oh, we're in over our heads, forget it.
Yeah.
And then I remember I ended up just being like, you know what, I'm going to give it a go anyway, and I'll figure that out as it comes. But I remember the whole time that was all starting up, I just was like, this is Skizz's world. Like, I'm trying to dive into a place that I know down deep inside, this is where Skizz belongs. And I want you to be there and doing exactly this full time. This is what you do. You're entertaining, you're making people laugh, you're being you. And now it's here, and you've been doing it for a year.
Yeah.
And it's just insane to think how that journey. I mean, if you think about it, if you go back, like we kind of knew that to begin with because I was the cameraman in our beginning videos. We were doing Skizzleman Presents.
Yeah.
You were the guy in front of the camera
The
telling the
goofball.
jokes and all that stuff. And I was the cameraman, and we would walk around and do world tours of our world that we were building together and all that kind of stuff. And so I knew that you belonged behind the camera, or in front of the camera, I should say.
Yeah.
And on screen. And here you are now, like you made it happen. And how that must have felt the day that you were able to put in your resignation to a job in the tech industry that you had worked almost 2 decades
Yeah.
and went to school for and all that. And you hung that up to do this.
Yeah.
And I just want to see like a little reflection on
Well,
how it's
you did the
been.
same thing. You did the same thing. You left just a handful of years before I did, but you also were building up quite a career. It was the same business, and you were very, very competent at your job there. I was building my own career there, so it's not foreign to you what that feels like to walk away from it. It's just a little fresher for me because it was a year ago.
You know, honestly, I'm seeing you experience a lot of the things I experienced when I went full time, and I'm reliving it through you.
Yeah.
So like the understanding like the ups and the downs, because nothing's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Like I know right now a lot of people and rightfully so think being a content creator is the most amazing job anyone can ever have. And I mostly agree with that.
Me too.
However, like anything else, there are some downsides to it. And if you don't mind, I want to get into that as well. We're not going to make this a negative thing at all.
No.
But I think it would be worth talking about, especially for those that might be thinking right now, like, oh, what if I want to be a content creator someday? It might be nice to kind of let them in on some of the things that we have to deal with, I guess, in different aspects of it. So like your learnings from the past year, I'm sure there was a few things that came out of left field that you were like, whoa, I didn't think I was going to have to deal with this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I'd like to talk about that stuff too. So basically the whole journey, you know?
Well, it's interesting because doing videos before I even left to go full time was a reality of mine. We were doing Naked and Scared. I was part of the Life series far before I left Intel, and I was doing solo Skizz snapshot series and stuff like that, and I was streaming all that. But all of those I was able to fit those in where I wanted to, because the bottom line is my main breadwinner for my family was my main job, right? And so that's where my focus was. So all of this extra stuff was just gravy and fluff. If I could afford the time or whatever, I was going to give it a go. Once you go full time, that safety net is now gone, and it is about, okay, well, you're going to have to be a little bit more consistent here, and that's and you get to be more. We're very, very lucky. There's no question about it. I think something I learned is I spent so many years. I've been working forever. You know what I mean? Forever, not just my last career. I've just since before it was legal to work, I was working. And right when it was legal to work, I had an interview set up for like the day of my birthday because I tried to work at this golf course when I was only 15. They're like, "Well, we can't hire you, but come back," and I did, and they hired me on the spot. And I've been working forever, right? So once I left that realm, if you will, I think I may have given myself a little bit too much grace in this world. And the fact that I'll stream when I can stream, and I'll make Hermitcraft videos when I can make them. I'm just going to enjoy myself. And I've done exactly that. I've been having one of the greatest years of my life. It's been such a fun time. But I surrendered a lot of my structure that I had been carrying for a very long time. And the result is very slow pace. You know what I mean? Like it's not that it's taken me over a year to finish the pyramid. It's that I started it over a year ago, and then sometimes a couple months would go by. I wouldn't do anything to it because I was having too much fun logging on, just hanging out with people, which is great. Yeah. You know what I mean? But now I'm feeling a sense of failure to go that long in my main project, like not be done. And so it was 2 days ago. I'm like, okay, I got to pull out old corporate Skizz now. And I literally made an itemized list of everything that needs to be done to call the pyramid done. And I gave it a hierarchy. So I know exactly, it's just like another workday at Intel, you know what I mean? To where I actually made that list. But what happened? It just results started happening instantly. You know what I mean? So it's now, I just got to find the time to do it. But
do you want, if you want, we can schedule some DSUs. You and I can get together for about 15 minutes every morning before we get started and talk about.
I've already done the risk assessment.
What we want to get done in the day. If there's any help needed, we can start a Kanban board. Of tasks that need to be.
Oh God, see, don't pretend you purged all this stuff. I haven't heard.
It's coming back to me right now, and I hate it.
I haven't heard Kanban in a long time. That is just gross.
Yeah. There's some agile experts out there, safe certified agile. I'm no longer safe certified, by the way.
I don't even know what that is.
A scaled agile framework. God, it is coming back to me. I hate it. I was safe certified, And I got a notice in my email the other day that it expired.
Oh no!
I'm no longer safe certified, so don't listen to me. I have no idea what I'm talking about
Not
anymore.
to mention, when you have those certifications in the corporate world, they mean, I'm sorry, they don't mean anything. They just don't.
Dude, I
You
went to a 3-hour class. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's
okay.
my point. That's my point. That's why, like, you know, it was so funny. The proof is in the pudding, right? And like, I look at it as somebody who's like a black belt. Now, in the corporate world, there actually is black belt for some sort of.
What is that one?
I don't care.
Lean.
I don't even know if it's lean. I don't even
Something.
know. But
Something
it's
related to
basically
that.
is, did you go through enough courses? Well, let's compare it to real martial arts. In real martial arts, like, in my opinion, like the true black belts are the ones where the sensei gives it to them when they have a feeling. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, they've seen what they've gone through. They've seen how many championships they've either won or almost won, how many people they've been able to actually best. And should take 10, 15 years maybe. And before they're like, this is where you're at. You're a black belt. Or you can just complete the classes and become a black belt, but who's going to win that fight? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the same as it's that way in the corporate world, where you can either be lean certified and have your black belt. If you've got thousands of hours of running lean classes or actually improving the corporation because of you applying these methodologies, sure, maybe you're a black belt, but going to the class, two classes, and now you're no. And I learned that the hard way because I had this big giant project, and there was a guy, we called him the tap dancer, and he was a black belt, and we needed that level of expertise to dissect what we had done. And when we asked him to run it, because he always bragged about having his black belt, you could see in his eyes, he's like, I don't actually know how to do this.
It was like calling somebody's bluff, dude.
Yes, exactly. And so he couldn't, he had to keep bluffing, and he bluffed all the way through the class. You know what I mean? Like running the thing. And I'm like, yeah, he's a nice guy, but he has no idea what he's doing.
But you did learn something from all that.
Yeah.
And you've now had to apply a little bit of that to being a content creator.
Yeah.
Like
just structure and planning and visibility. And
Yeah.
that's something I do. That's something I would do in the corporate world, where if I had a bunch of people that answered to me, and I never went into management. I didn't want to do that, but I managed a lot of programs. And if I had people answering to me, then it was important to me that there was visibility. And what I mean by that is not only where we stand, but what needs to be done, who is in charge of doing that, and then applying dates to next week, you're going to come give us all an update on this. So they know if this thing of the program's not done, it's you. You know what I mean? It's not everybody, it's you. You're there. That's the visibility, right? So I do that a lot just in this world when it comes to sometimes with collaborating with people. You know what I mean?
how's the response been from YouTubers that have never worked in a corporate world?
I'm not, here's the deal. Let's be clear about this. I love every single person I work with. We work on a very different dynamic. They're far more fluid, and they're going to live a lot longer than me. And I need to take a lot of pages out of their books. But when it comes to making a plan and committing to something, sometimes I can be kind of a little bit pushy, but they've only seen 1% of that, which is, let's just call it what it is. This guy here runs the Hermitcraft meetings, and he does an amazing job.
I don't know.
And he does.
Man.
He does.
I do let them run on probably longer than I should.
You do a little bit. And
Yeah.
but you have a pretty good balance, right? But it's not lost on me that you're like, Skizz, when are you going to take this over? You keep holding your breath, man. I'm not saying I'm never going to. I'm saying I don't want, because I don't think it would be fun. People still have fun when you run it. I think if I ran it, it wouldn't be fun. They would be really short, and they would be right to the point, because to me, it's a meeting. You know what I mean? And meetings are to get the job done and end the meeting.
There's a big gray area with Hermitcraft meetings on whether it's a meeting or a hangout.
Or a hangout. And I love the hangout.
Yeah.
But here's the deal, though. Sometimes when there's a hangout, I love hanging out.
Yeah.
I'll just be playing. I'm hanging out with my buddies, and I love that. I really, really do. But if there's a hangout and I've got things to do, that's when I'm like, are there topics left? You know what I mean? Because if there's topics left, I want to stick around. But if not, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I got some things going on.
Do you feel like the corporate world conditioned us to always feel like there's things to do? That there's always that to-do list that we need to be chipping away at, and we never actually stop. Because like one metaphor I constantly use for being a content creator is that we're on a treadmill, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're not walking forward, you're falling off the treadmill. you know?
Yep.
And so we constantly have to be in motion of creating the next thing. And then that goes out and you just, whoop, that's gone next. You know what I mean? And so it does feel that way sometimes, like you're just focused on the next thing. And so taking that time, that hangout time, sometimes can be like, oh, there's that thing I'm supposed to be doing right now. I can't not be doing that, you know, and just chatting with my friends. And so I feel that kind of tick-tock sometimes. But at the same time, like, I don't want to take that corporate attitude of like, time is money, everybody. Let's
that's exactly right.
Take that offline.
Well, that's why what I would want to do, and I think you do a good job of it, is we have a list of agenda items. Let's get to the end of it, and then if people want to hang, people hang. You know what I mean? But sprinkling the hang in between the agenda items is elongating the necessary part of the meeting. You know what I mean? And so that's why. And like I said, I think you're doing a great job. I just think like I said, in the corporate world, I don't necessarily, if it's like we always have something else to do. I think in the corporate world, first of all, I always had something else to do. You know what I mean? And because I was also trying to do this as well. And so they were just getting through the day 8 to 5. And I've told this story before, but when I went on site, because we had a meeting and I was like, this is what's on you've been in my meetings before back in the world where I'm like, these are the items on the board is what we're going to solve. And nobody leaves the room until we have an answer for everyone. So that was my, like, you're not leaving unless we have these answers. So don't let your head wander or think we're coming back to this because we're doing it now. Right. And not everybody wants to operate like that. A lot of them they just, let's get 8 through 5. We'll get to and that's when I went on and they're like, well, let's think about this. Let's meet next week. And I'm like, no, we're meeting now.
We didn't schedule a meeting to schedule a meeting.
Exactly. I'm like, what is happening? But that's why I think it was more of my take is that I was always adamant with the people when I ran groups is I told them I would rather you go home and be paid to put your thumb up your butt and look at the wall than partake in work here that you know has no value. You know what I mean? When you know it has no value, because at least at home, there's a chance you're going to think of something good for the company. Yeah. You know what I mean? But when you're just distracting yourself, it's just nonsense. It's just the 8 to 5 thing that always was so bad for me. Right. So I wanted to get away from it. I got into the content creation world and I relaxed way too much. And I had a good time. I don't really have any regrets. I learned, you know.
So you're saying like when you went full time, you started to relax on the process of creating content,
on planning, on being structured about it. Okay. I just was like, oh, I'm funny enough to just hit the camera and just go. And while there's some truth to that, that's not a healthy way to look at it because there's no growth in that approach. And it's also not entirely accurate. You know what I mean? I'm not bulletproof. There's going to take some planning here. And you told me to do more planning. Tango told me to do more planning. I didn't listen to you guys. And I'm glad I didn't. Because if I listened to you, I wouldn't buy off on it as much. I would still think my way was fine. But I got to fail, and now I'm coming out the other side being like, no. I learned what I need to learn. Next season, I'm going to be. Maybe I'll overplan and I'll have to calibrate. I don't know. But next season, I'm going to be far more structured in regards to what my approach is going to be. Because I want my thing to happen earlier. This has been too long. You know what I mean?
No, I'm in the same boat. Yeah. I'm in the same boat we're specifically right now talking about like what we're doing on Hermitcraft season 10.
Yours is actually massive. Yours makes sense why it's taking so long.
It is a big project. Yes. I'll give you that. But like it could have got done 6 months ago if I just if I was Cub. You know what I mean? Like Cub built something kind of similar to what I'm doing, and he knocked it out like overnight. It seems like. So it's just
talk about the labyrinth,
the labyrinth that he built. Yeah.
How?
We talked about that with Cub anyway, but like there was less to his than there is mine. I had to I did it underground I'm a masochist anyway. But yeah, I'm with you. We spun our wheels a little bit, and there was like a vibe. You know, of the season to where it was like we all accepted that it was going to be a little bit slower pace and then maybe leaned into that a little too much. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like going back to when you were working full time and you were doing, you were on Hermitcraft while you were still working.
I was.
Like the first 3-4 months of the season. Not only that, you had a lot going on. I mean, you got shingles and
I got sick. I was always traveling.
Yeah, and other stuff happened. We won't get into, but you had a lot. You got kind of bombarded with life all right at the same time of you ending your tenure at Intel, right? Like, so it was kind of a rough transition for you that you kind of had to like figure your way figure out a new flow to how you were going to do your daily stuff. But did you have, when you were, before you had quit and gone full-time content creator, did you have a vision? Like, did you think this is what's going to happen when I go full-time? I'm going to get all these hours back and I'm going to do this, and this. Cause I actually remember myself making a list of I actually titled the document "Things I Will Do When I Go Full Time," and I could pull it up, and I bet you I did maybe half of the things. Yeah. Did you do something similar to that?
I had it in my mind that I was going to be able to get out at least one Hermitcraft episode a week, and I was going to be able to get a proper regimented gym schedule, which it's not, I mean, all I got to do is I got to be more deliberate about it, but I'm spending every day starting work at 6 or 7 a.m. and I'm not done until 5 or 6 p.m. And that included maybe a 25-minute lunch break in between. And that's every single day. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? You know what I mean? Like, where am I what is happening? Why am I so slow? You know, I don't understand this. Now I'm streaming a lot and I really enjoy streaming. I enjoy an audience. I enjoy making people laugh. That's my tagline. Laughter is what I bring. It's what I do. You know, that's what I want to do. I want to make people smile and think and laugh. That's what I want to do. And streaming's become such a big part that something had to give, and the ability to pump out proper Hermitcraft videos, I think, is suffering because I don't have a whole lot of time with that. The podcast also takes up a day or two a week. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. And I think everything ended up being more than I thought in regards to how to pull it off. And so I'm still learning how to calibrate that. But I had a list in my head of what I wanted to do, and I would say next to almost none of it panned out. I am still to this day trying to remind myself to slow down. I am, you know what I mean? I am making sure I'm at least walking 2 miles a day, but that's nothing. I need to go do something, you know? But I find myself telling myself to slow down. Like everything you're doing is like, it's lunchtime. Why am I going down the stairs so fast to go get lunch? I'm not hungry. And I'm like, because I just spent 20 years trying to just do everything quick. Yeah. Slow down. You know what I mean? And it takes a really...
Seems like it's almost contradictory though. Because on one side, you're feeling like you're not getting enough done in the content creation world. And on the other hand, you feel like you're moving 100 miles an hour constantly and that you need to have time for break and to slow down and to stop and smell the roses. And you know what I mean? Like maybe have a hobby, because before you could say this was your hobby, but now it's your job. So now you don't have a hobby necessarily. Right. You know what I mean? Like you don't have that me time anymore. And so like those are at odds with each other. They're constantly fighting to like, how can I get more done, but also not be constantly working?
It's be smarter. And that's where I need to get better, is do better planning. You know what I mean? I know how to plan. You saw what the programs I was able to bring from ideation to fruition when we were at Intel. Like I know what it is to plan and put the pieces in place and see the other side of it. I know what that is. I need to bring that here. You know what I mean? And then I'll be able to slow down and work more efficiently and be able to produce what I envisioned being able to produce, because with a little bit of thought, we're good to go. We're good to go. You know what I mean? Just like, I can do it. I just got to get more structure. I got to get smarter. I'm not going to be a Cub. It's never going to happen. You know what I mean? I still don't get it. I don't get it. Or Joel. I don't get it. Yeah. I don't understand if they're like...
It seems like they live in some sort of time warp.
Yes, dude. Yeah. They remind me of Hero. Yatta. Where they're like freezing time and space and they're able to do all this stuff in what feels like no time at all. Like, especially in the beginning of the season, I would be like, oh, look at Joel over there. His little city's coming along. It's pretty cool. Where'd that building come from? Like I would look away and look back, and there's it was just, and there wasn't just giant structures. They were giant, gorgeous structures. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I don't get it. I have no idea how they're working so fast. And the stuff that Cub built, let's just take the firework explosion, for example. I mean,
talking about all those pieces of glass that are scattered throughout the air, that
considering each glass frame, build the dirt out, put the glass, tear the dirt away. whatever he used. Maybe it was, I don't know what he used, but whatever he was using, he had to build the plate. He had to build out to where he wanted the glass to be so he could place the glass and then take away what he just built. And that was every single shard, right? Every single pane of glass. And it is gorgeous what he made. It's perfect. I literally don't think I could do that. Like, I think he did it like overnight, dude. And I'm like, I feel like that would take me months.
The whole season.
If it was all I did. And that's where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here, because that is so fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's where I got to stop comparing myself. However, who I am allowed to compare myself to is me. And I know for a fact that I underdelivered. We've talked about this before. I've underdelivered, and I am feeling the pang of guilt for that. I'm feeling the confidence just dropping, you know what I mean? And it's all a bunch of pain, but it's all very important to growth. You know what I mean? So I am like, I'm going to wrap it up. The season cannot end, and I didn't finish the pyramid. You know, I'm going to finish it, and it's going to be probably fantastically underwhelming, but it will be done, and it will be mine. And I did it. You know what I mean? And so now it's time to start, it'll eventually be time to start thinking about next season, getting more deliberate, getting smarter about this. I would like my speed to be noticeable, not obnoxious, but I would like my growth. How about that? I would like next season for my growth to be noticeable. Okay. Both from a building standpoint and a tempo standpoint. Okay. And if I can do that and still maintain that fun hangout dynamic I've been having, then I feel like I win.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing and I'm still struggling with it, is finding the balance, right? Because we just talked about how many different things. We're not just playing Minecraft every day, all day long, recording videos for Hermitcraft, and that's our thing. That's not all we are. Yeah. You and I both tackle so many different things through, streaming, having our friend groups with gigs where we play indie horror games, we play Phasmo. I mean, we have this podcast, like you mentioned, which does take up a full day of our week, and if we want to still have weekends with our families, that's 20% of our time on this podcast alone, In Hermitcraft, I would argue to say, at least for me, if I'm going to put together a decent episode, that's a 2-day project. That's 2 full focus days, but we don't just do that. We don't just go heads down, because almost every day we're streaming. For like 3 hours a day. So really, at the end of it, we maybe have half a day every day outside of streaming, and maybe some of those streams we are playing on Hermitcraft and working towards a video. You're really good at this. I'm not, of actually making content while you're streaming. I struggle to double dip still, but like, that's been the biggest challenge I've found, is trying to figure out how to balance all the things that we want to do. And then at the end of the day, it still feels like it's not enough. There's still people, and ourselves included, that want to see things like Naked and Scared make a comeback, and us to finish Split Fiction, which we finally got around to. You know what I mean? Like, all of that is constantly swirling around us, and we want to do all these things, but we're already like feeling like our plate's a little overflowing with all the other good stuff that we're doing. And so it's just a matter of like, okay, now how do we make those decisions? And I think that's the process that it takes the work. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, making decisions, I don't know about you, but I struggle, because I feel like sometimes I get in my head about it, like that every decision is like a make or break decision. Like, if I choose to work on this Hermitcraft and sacrifice my Phasmo stream, then I'm going to upset people. And then all of a sudden my second channel is going to die because I'm not providing the content those people, those viewers wanted to see. And maybe I'm losing part of myself. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I needed to play Phasmo because that was, in the content creation world, still like my hobby part, the part that I needed for me to enrich my own soul. Yeah. And so like, I hang on these decisions on what to do next for so long that I can get decision paralysis, and next thing you know, I'm not being productive because I'm stuck. Yeah. Are you feeling some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because I want all of it. We did a podcast not that long ago about where we did a metaphor of what we do to Thanksgiving plate, right?
Oh yeah,
and it was very similar. And I want all the stuffings. I want everything on the table, and I don't want to say no to anything. You know what I mean? Because it's not because like, it's not like a greed or consumption thing. It's more, and it's not even a FOMO thing. It's more of a let's see, it's not a fear of missing out. It's a fear of having missed out. And the difference of that is that is when I don't go do something, it's not, if I say no to something, there's FOMO is always going to be a part of it, right? Because, oh, they're having fun, I want to be a part of that. But what if that was the thing? What if that was the thing that was going to make the difference?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why anytime there's an opportunity, I want to say yes to everything.
What if you were too busy at the time because you had to finish your pyramid, and Green, had this idea, this experimental series he was going to call the Life series, and oh man, I really want to finish my pyramid. I'm just gonna focus on that. I don't really have the time to go
that.
be part of this. And then fast forward to now, obviously the Life series has taken on, or for lack of better words, a life of its own.
It has, yeah.
And it's the most exciting, one of the most exciting things we do.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like,
it really is.
It's to imagine having, and that's what I mean. Like that can get in my head sometimes to think like, ooh, what if I did make a bad decision and choose not to be in something like that? And that's why it's just like default answer is yes, until I'm just like, I'm drowning and now everything is suffering.
Yes, dude. Yes. That you're nailing it right now, dude. And that was the thing. Is that I was, first of all, the Life series, getting the invite was ridiculous for me because you got to keep in mind, I was at like under 40,000 subs when we first did the very first season of the Life series. And then even the sub growth can be so slow. Even when I went full time, I was only at like 70,000, and now I'm over 200,000, which is great, right?
Dude, I love how you use the word only.
Well, I mean, I'm saying
only 70,000.
Well, I mean, because in the
I know it's
when
tough.
you want to make it, it's that, but the Life series became something that was very evident to me from the beginning that this is a very rare, special thing. I don't know why I got an invite, but I'm honored. And whenever this happens
you're
again,
awesome.
Well, thank you. But I was like, but whenever this show happens, if I keep getting invites, everything else will drop. You know what I mean? And I will be part of this. You know what I mean? If I get the invite, it's going to happen. There was only one time I couldn't make the season because there was inchangeable like travel. But I mean, to the point to where a lot of people don't know this, but some people might. There was a season, I don't remember what season it was, but I lost sight of the recording date, or the recording date changed. I don't really remember, of the very first episode. And it cost me $700 to film that first episode because I had to change a plane ticket last second to come home just so I could film, right? That episode didn't make $700. I knew, but I'm like, doesn't matter. This series is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do everything I can to be a part of it. So I still do have the ability to, I don't know, measure, weigh, whatever.
So, all right. So a year has gone by now. You wake up every day. You don't think about DSUs and Kanban boards, obviously. and you've learned a lot. You were just talking about things you've learned with your pacing for the Hermitcraft season. What else have you learned along the way that you're looking to change? Anything?
You know what? I will say, I don't know, if I've learned that I've held pretty true to, I just don't really care that much about what people think about me, other than there's a group of people, there's a select group of people who actually I care. That list has grown a little bit because I've met a group of people who I have a lot of admiration for. So their disposition of me actually does hold some water. It doesn't mean everything. But I think I've been put to the test, and I'm able to feel pretty good about staying with who I am and my ability to stay true, to myself. I feel like I've been able to do that. I've also learned, this is a critical one, actually. This is going to be crazy. We've talked about this before, and boy, is it held true. I go into every single video that I start off the same exact way in regards to my confidence, and in that it's terrible. Every time I'm starting a video, I'm like, I'm not prepared for this. I'm no good at this. This video is going to suck. This is going to be boring. This is going to be bad. This is going to be a bad video. And then when I'm done editing, I'm in the process of wrapping up the edit or doing the final touches with music or whatever, I'm like, I'm pretty good at this. Like it's every time. And I tell myself, how many times do you have to get to the end of the product to realize you actually do have a gift for this? You know what you're doing. Why do you doubt yourself every single time? It's not some sort of part of the process that I'm doing that I got to do. I genuinely believe that every video I'm about to make, that the video before it was my last good video ever. Like, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. All the way down to, I've almost taken myself out of things. The idea came about to do the capture my castle thing. Remember, it was you, me,
Raid
Joel,
my castle,
Jem,
whatever
Grian.
it was called. Yeah.
You, me, Jem, Joel, Grian,
Jimmy,
and Jimmy.
Yeah. How could you forget Jimmy?
Well, I don't know. Seeing as one of my favorite people on the planet, that's why I paused. I'm like,
I came across a TikTok. I've been on TikTok lately, and I kind of regret it. But I came across a TikTok where somebody put together during that video, my video, where like Jimmy kept stumbling and I kept helping him over and over again. And they're just like pointing out how like I treat Jimmy different than everybody else. And I'm like, oh crap, I might have a man crush.
No.
What's happening here?
No, he develops a younger brother vibe pretty quickly. Is what that is. But that was a program that from the get-go, I was like, oh, I don't want to miss out on this. This is happy. I'm glad that I get to be a part of this. But my brain was all, I don't know why you're happy. You don't belong here. You don't know what you're doing. It's not that you kind of can't create what they're going to end up creating. You're not going to come even close, and it's going to be a waste of everybody's time. Goes back to, I'm telling you, dude, if you haven't seen it, trust me on this. Take the time, literally pause this now and go watch. We've talked about this video. Go watch the video High Ren and pay attention to the words. The way he personifies doubt is insane. You've seen the video. The way he's able to play the guitar, be himself, and then be Ren, and then be, he's both versions of Ren. And it's not Ren Dog. And it is so amazing. Well, that is very real, and for a lot of people, I think, and it's definitely real with me. And it was the castle video where I was like, I should literally pull myself out of this. I don't belong here. I'm going to waste all of their time. Like, I don't belong here. And I decided to just kind of tuck away that self-doubt and just, give it a go. You know what I mean? And I told myself, here's what might happen. This might actually be a dumpster fire, and I wasted everybody's time, and it's going to cost me invites. However, if I don't do this, that's going to haunt me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's just do it. And by the end of it, it wasn't bad. I didn't hate what I made.
It was good, man.
It was goofy. It was silly. It was something to be kind of proud of. And I learned a lot about that tool Axiom, which I've purged. I literally have purged all of it.
Me too.
Now. Have you?
Dude, I don't know if I can know how to use it anymore. I got into it big time for that project, and I was all excited about it. And I was like, I'm going to use this planning out Hermitcraft builds in the future. And then I didn't. And I think now I'm like, I probably wouldn't remember how to use half the things I learned.
That makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, there's so many there's so many tools out there that are so good at helping us to do what we do, and yet it's really hard to learn them all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very tough to learn them.
Like, we think we know flashback mod. There's like we know the tip of the iceberg. I'm 100% sure. Like, we barely know any of it.
I know. All I need is the tip right now of the iceberg to be able to actually do magic.
It's daunting, man.
Yeah.
There's so many things, like so many tools that we need to do our job. Like, imagine, I just because I'm a learner, I love learning new stuff, but I just don't have time, right? Like, I would love to learn how to become a master at editing and how every single function. Right now I'm using DaVinci Resolve, but we'll go with Premiere Pro either way. I would love to learn how everything in the whole gamut of tool suite of that works. There's no way. Yeah. Photoshop, same way. We have to use Photoshop a lot. Yeah. Talk about flashback mod, Axiom for creating builds, or World Edit. How about that? All these people are using World Edit and guess the builds, and you and I are both like, dude. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this tower here. I should just be able to stack the blocks up. I don't know how to do it. So I'm spending the next 2 minutes of my 5 minutes, by the way, placing blocks manually when everybody else that we work with is like, command done. Yeah. And I'm like, come on, man.
I caught that editing. It was my video and you started to do world edit.
And it didn't work. I typed a command, it didn't work.
Yeah,
I remember that.
You know what? I don't remember it.
Yep.
That was so
Dude,
hard.
I typed a command that I felt like, yeah, this is totally it. This should work. I hit enter and it's all nope. And I'm all, well, that ship sailed. Okay, here we go. Like, damn, man. Yeah, it's maybe that's it. It's like, because, we were doing this part-time for so many years, and a lot of the people we work with now, they've been doing it full-time for much longer. Maybe they have taken the time to learn these tools, and those tools have made them much more efficient at what they're doing.
Yeah.
Where you and I are still doing stuff. We're like the old men that just can't change, or you can't teach old dog new tricks.
I know. That's what it
scenario
feels like,
here.
dude.
And we're the old guys still doing things like, from the old way.
Yeah.
The slow way. We're not giving the times, man.
I agree, dude. Like it's limiting me, and I should probably, but look what we did. Look what you did for that Attack My Castle thing. Oh my God. Like, cause you learned that. So in case you don't know, Axiom is like it's a tool you can use to build structures a little bit bigger.
You can do like modeling
and copy and
Minecraft and
copy and paste and stuff like that. And I know I used it for to the best of my abilities, but you were actually like creating big structures and then flipping them and duplicating. It was amazing. But your structure was so good that at the end of it, your confidence in Axiom was probably quite high.
Yeah.
But you're saying you forgot it now. But what you can't forget, and I should not forget, is what we haven't lost is the ability to learn. We both learned it.
Yeah.
We both used it. Like this is what I need after a year of doing this. I still have a tremendous amount of doubt, but I'm surrendering all of these moments that should be playing pivotal milestones in my own growth and confidence, but they're not. You know what I mean? And I don't know why that is. It's probably the treadmill thing, dude. It's just we're always going, so you don't have time to celebrate. You know?
Dude, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, these ideas butt heads where it's like, I need to be doing more, but I need to be taking more time to myself. Because I've had these thoughts recently to where it's like, you know what I used to do? Because I know innately I am a learner and I love learning new things, is I used to give myself time. In fact, when we worked at Intel, I literally had a day of the week with like a 2-3 hour block, something like that was called personal development time.
Yep.
To where I scheduled time every week to force myself to learn something new, to go spend time just educating myself or getting better at a skill set that I needed to get better at. And I forced myself to do it. Ever since I've gone full-time content creation, nope. Haven't done a bit of that. Like we kind of forced ourselves to learn Axiom for that project because we felt like it was going to be necessary. It would be helpful. But I haven't really done much of that. And so that's something that I've been it's been swimming around in my head. Like, maybe I should do that. Like, literally put it on my schedule. Like, every Friday at this time, I'm going to take that time to just learn something new. Go dig into Flashback and see, like, maybe there's some cool new camera tricks I can do for my my speed builds and stuff like that, or something. You know what I mean? Like, go. Maybe I learn a plugin for DaVinci Resolve that makes my editing time twice as fast. Yeah. And I get all that time back. That's what it used to do. When I learned stuff, I'd get better at it and I'd get more efficient. And then I was borrowing that time, right? Like, take that time now. And next thing you know, okay, I spent 10 hours learning something new, but then over the course of the next 2 months, I'm going to get that 10 hours back because it increased my efficiency so much. And then some. It's going to keep going, Just don't do it anymore.
No, you're right. And the problem with my learning, and it's not like we're not learning anything, but we keep learning things when we need to learn them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like this podcast is an example, right? So a few installments ago, we had Fwip on. This is actually worth talking about. This is kind of an interesting little journey here. We had Fwip on, and the audio was nice and clean, and we were coming across to him clean, but he was having some network hiccups to where he was, if you remember this, he was paused, like the video was pausing for like 10 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
And last time we dealt with this was the first time we had Cub on, and I just like went with it. And I'm to this day, I'm upset with myself for not finding a way to fix that. Right. Well, we didn't have a local file with Cub. That's why. But because of stuff like that, we had asked Fwip to film locally in case it was something that I needed to use or whatever. And we needed it. And I learned a new skill set in Adobe. And now when we have a guest on, what they're seeing on the TV, and I know I'm kind of peeling the curtain back here.
Now people are going to be looking
You're
at
going to
it.
be looking now, but what you see on the TV is actually a stitched over version of their local file.
Yeah, that's not actually the image of the TV that the camera is catching live.
Now it has been. Jimmy was Jimmy. All the ones before FWIP were legit. FWIP was the first time I ever did it. Every guest we've had on since then has been me doing this skill set because I had to learn it and I learned it. And now it actually takes more time to do it because it's not as cut and dry as one might think. It's actually a whole process of rendering something beforehand and taking the finished rendered version, bringing it in. So now I can start editing, but it's so much cleaner, right? It's so much more professional, but I didn't learn that skill set until I needed it. Right. And so let's think about this. FWIP, if he was not having internet problems, I wouldn't have taken the time to learn that skill set. And the podcast would have been fine. He wouldn't have been as vibrant. He wouldn't have looked as clean because it wouldn't have been the local file, but it would have been fine. And when we had Cub on, I would have used what we were looking at there too, and it would have been fine, but it wouldn't have been nearly as clean because I did the local file. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm waiting until I have, I think a lot of it comes down to, we don't know what we don't know.
Yep.
I don't know what to just go learn sometimes. You know what I mean? I have to wait for it to come to me and say, you need to know this.
Even then it's like, we learn the bare minimum, you know, like
just to get through it.
Just to get through it. Because, you know, when we started this podcast, neither one of us really knew that much about cameras and lighting and any of that. And then so I like, all right, let me go learn ISO and white balance and stuff like that. I learned just enough to like improve the podcast, but I'm no camera expert and I'm no photographer. Like I couldn't get a job, you know, taking photos for a wedding or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I didn't learn nearly enough about photography as I should have, you know what I mean? Or could have. And so, I mean, it gets by, but like there are still times when you're like, the color grading is off on our 2 shots. Why is that? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
White well, auto white balance is a thing. I was trusting the cameras, you know, like, you know, so like there's still a lot to be desired there. And like, if I'd like scheduled time or given myself more time to step off the treadmill, knowing like I'm not, you know, it's going to be fine, and just take that time to get better. Like maybe I could dial in the cameras to where you didn't have to worry about it in post. Yeah. And maybe we could figure out a better situation for how the lights are supposed to be and all of that, you know. But I haven't because just got to go. Just next thing. I got to get like 10 projects in front of me that I'm just like, I got to get working on that or else I'm going to be behind.
Okay, you know? When I send you those screenshots, now I want you to know I hope you know I'm not trying to dig on you or saying, why didn't you fix this? When I send you screenshots of side by side of this is what this looks like, I'm going to have to do color correction and post, which is, you and I both know any sort of post correction on any level is something that you want to try to avoid.
Yeah, rule of thumb is you want to have very limited correcting of anything. Yeah. Like you don't want to have to apply filters to audio. You want your audio to sound good straight away. Yeah. You know what I mean? Same with cameras and lighting and stuff. If you can nail that live and not have to worry about anything in post, it's much, much better.
Because anything you do in post is synthetic. No matter how you slice it, it's all synthetic, and you want to get away from that because you start doing too much and it gets all wacky. So when I do color correction, it's only to kind of take the edge off, because sometimes the color imbalance between the shots is so severe that it's going to be jarring every time it cuts back and forth. So I soften it by doing some color correction. But if I do too much of it, then it starts to look not natural. You know, the colors become this like really odd, vibrant. It doesn't work.
I'm sure if you were like an expert at color grading, you could nail it. Yeah. But that's what it would take. Yeah. And that's just not something that, you know, like our job isn't to be an expert color grader, because that's a person's real job. What they do every day, all day is that. And that's not our job. That's like, we have so many things that we have to be like just a little knowledgeable on, just enough to get the job done, and in many different fields. That's what's crazy about being a content creator. Yeah. You know, we're video editors, and we're our own marketing team, you know, and we're script writers, we're all of that, you know, storytellers, all these in one bucket, and we can't be an expert at all of them. No. And it's hard to be an expert at one of them.
But you and I both could benefit from at least, if only for a moment, acknowledging how much growth we've had, because I lose sight of it. Do you realize? I mean, it was just last week we had Big B on, and I was editing it earlier this morning, and I know how weird that sounded, everybody. The times are weird. I was editing it earlier this morning, and
You're like, wait. That came out last week. How did you? He's got a time machine. I knew it.
I know how it sounds weird, but I was editing it this morning, and I was at the beginning of it, and Big B, I brought out the clacker. You know, I brought let's show everybody. I brought this out.
I'm gonna pull a mumbo. Whoa, you have a clacker?
Yeah, so I brought this out. We use this. And it's so funny because some people, like even my own mom, is like, what is the point of that? Well, the point of that is that when I do this, then it spikes the audio, right? So not only does it spike the audio, but I'm able to go frame by frame because the video and audio are all different systems. And I'm able to go frame by frame until I see that, you know, the red, there's no gap in there. As soon as there's no gap, that means it's touch. I can line it up with the spike in the audio, and now we're lined up. Okay.
Prim doesn't like the clacker.
Sorry, Prim. So
she's like, could you stop doing the clacker
was doing
now?
this
I'm sensitive.
in Big B, and he wasn't the first one to say it, was like, can I just say what you guys have here is awesome? Because they realize like this podcast is something that we've taken very seriously, and the technology has evolved from day one. Our approach has evolved from day one. It's also devolved every once in a while, and we have to course correct. Yeah. But we need to take the time to celebrate the fact that we actually have become pretty darn good in some things. Yeah. But I just forget it. You know what I mean? My brother was in my studio a couple months ago when I was editing something, and he was like, how do you know how to do this? You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know. I just taught myself. Like I guess I don't know how I know how to do this. I just taught myself, and that's just what it was.
Pick up some things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, being a content creator, we've talked about this, I think, probably multiple times on the podcast, is like, it is stressful, right? Like, that's something we can get into if you want to, about how the stress changed once you went full time, right? Knowing like this is a make or break type of thing now. I have to make this work, because if you don't, well, you got to find another job. You know what I mean? Like, you got to, what's next? Are you going to go back to Intel? Maybe. I don't plan to, you know, but we got to think about like what's next. And now you say that, and I'm like, we've figured out so many things. Like, maybe I could go do a deep dive into how cameras work and become a photographer. You know what I mean? If I wanted to. Maybe I could become a freelance video editor. I think I know enough about video editing at this point that I could probably offer to edit other YouTubers' videos if I decide for whatever reason that I'm done making my own, you know? There's a lot of these like secondary skills that we've picked up through this journey. But I don't
want to do any of those.
You don't.
I want to do this. And if I have to go back to like do program management at some tech company again, I'll do that if I have to. I don't want to because I have no passion in that, and I have a real passion for this. I still get, every time we publish, I still get
your dopamine hit.
Yeah, and I will say this though, much like that animation I shared a while ago on addiction, that thing I showed you with the bird thing comes and soaks up that little drop on the ground, and it just, I am noticing that the dopamine hit from releasing a video is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. You know what I mean? I am noticing, like, because the second I used to be like I could ride that high for a couple days, and now it lasts for a handful of hours after the publish, and my brain's all like, what are you celebrating for? Get busy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like you just said, we can't fail. You know what I mean? That's the way, and it's weird because there's so much out of our control. We've talked about this too. There's so much out of our control that we still somehow equate to failure. Yep. You know, and that's not super healthy. So I find myself just trying to really continue to enjoy the journey, and I do very much. I'm never like, the only time I get upset anymore is when I'm like, you did it again, man. You bit off more than you can chew. So you're going to be working back to back 18-hour days. That's the only way you can get this done. Yeah. You know what I mean? And sometimes that happens, and you have to be okay with that. But that's the only time I get upset, because like my wife has been so cool about it, but I can tell she's just like, so I just don't have a husband anymore. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be that guy. So yeah, it's trying to find that balance. It's tough. Yeah, it's tough. I found myself in the same boat, and typically what I see happen when I've bit off more than I can chew is that all the things I'm doing, the quality is just not to my standards, not to my liking. And I start feeling like I'm failing, because it's like, I know I could do better if I had more time to focus on that.
I rushed through that recording and therefore I didn't tell a good story, or I didn't take a moment to sit and think about how I wanted to deliver it, or maybe relax enough to like be funny, you know what I mean? And like come up with good ideas. A lot of times if I'm just going on the treadmill, then I'm missing these opportunities that if I just like took a second and had a shower thought, you know what I mean? Because that's typically the only time I ever come up with good ideas anymore is when I'm forced to not be on the treadmill, like in doing personal hygiene things, like taking a shower, you know what I mean? Like if I just took more time to maybe just like, instead of coming into the studio and going right to the desk and hitting record, and I came in and just like sat at the couch and just like kind of stared at the wall and let my brain, you know, just wander a little bit. Those times I would probably come up with much better content. And then if I went and made that, it's way more worth it than just going in and hitting record just to have something. Like I think that's one of the bigger learnings that I've had, and it's not one that I've acted on enough. Like, so that's me still learning. You know, I'm plus a year into the process from what you are. But I'm still learning that. You know what I mean? It's not, we're on a road, you know, that hopefully doesn't have an end. You know what I mean?
Hopefully.
So we're going to continue to learn as we go and just improve. And I feel like a lot of things are going in that direction, just not as fast as we would like.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I stress out of from time to time.
Yeah. And that's another thing is that I'm learning. This is something that I actually am learning and I'm getting better at. And I don't know if you're getting better at it. And I would encourage you to work on this if you're not. It's not easy releasing a video and getting that 10 out of 10 mark. And just to reiterate, 10 out of 10 is very bad. You want 1 out of 10 and getting that 10 out of 10, but it's going to happen, right? And that pain of the 10 out of 10 is meaning less and less to me. Because it's like, that's okay. You know what I mean? You can't win them all. And then I'm going to release another one and it'll be 6 out of 10. And then I'll release one later. It'll be 1 out of 10. And you know what I mean? I can't, I'm getting better at that. Are you managing
I'm getting
that?
better at predicting it. You know what I mean?
You just predict it every time. And then
like today I have a 10 out of 10 on my second channel, but I knew that was coming because it's a 7-hour split fiction VOD from a stream. You know what I mean? And I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, especially for that channel. And it's a long stream as well. But it's when I work crazy hard on something that I am super proud of. Like I get done with it and I'm like, this is one of the best things I've ever done. I cannot wait for everyone to see this. And I hit publish and it's 10 out of 10. And then I know not everyone's going to see it. And I worked really hard and I was really proud of this thing that's just not hitting. Why is it not hitting? And then you start to deep dive into what did I do wrong? And then that's where it's out of
that's
a lot
where
of
it spins.
Some of that's out of it spins and you're like, is it out of my control? Did YouTube mess up? Did they not send out notifications today? Or did I just miss the mark? Did I think people were gonna like this? Did I actually do what I thought was a good thumbnail and title was actually garbage? Like, am I bad at this? And then you start to spiral. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That still happens. I don't know if that's ever gonna change. Not when I produce something that I think is great and then it fails. When
I produce something that I'm convinced is great and then it gets a 10 out of 10, it's the same story where the comments themselves are like, what is happening? Why are more people not watching this? Like, you know what I mean? And they feel that. I can't quite explain it, but I appreciate the constant journey to try to figure out the cryptic nature that is the YouTube world, but I am finding myself releasing my desire to have control or comprehension of it more and more every day because the answer, it doesn't exist. I don't think the algorithm developers for YouTube even know. There's something this is going to sound crazy. There's some sort of secret sauce, dude. It's the same thing if at Intel, like the process to make a processor from beginning to end is so unbelievably complex that there is likely not one person in the entire corporation who knows how to do it. Everybody specializes in their piece. Right. So my point being, the magic to make it happen eludes everybody. Just the way, it's not like there's not a little bit of understood science. Thumbnails matter. They matter for click-through. We understand that. We understand that you've got to do something to capture your audience very quickly. And that is so you can retain 50% of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That we all see that retention on every single video, no matter what the video is, it drops 50% in the first 2 seconds. Every single video. You can't do much about that, but you can do something to make it worse. You know what I mean? So we know that much. But in regards to why did this captivate them, but this did not? Why is this video I released 7 years ago popping off all of a sudden?
Why does my ice bucket challenge keep going viral?
Exactly.
That's over 10 years old.
I can't make any sense. You know what I mean? I can't just, so I found myself being like, listen, I will try to surf the waves to the best of my ability, but I'm going to stop trying to understand the nature of a tide and how it operates. I'm just going to try to surf the wave when it's
then there's the outliers that will really mess you up mentally, because thumbnails matter, don't they?
Yeah.
You really got to capture the attention with that thumbnail and make it clickable. You know, Etho has never made a thumbnail. Etho is extremely popular on YouTube. He's done quite well without never once making a thumbnail. So
I don't understand that. But hold on. Is that true? Is that true?
He just accepts the default, whatever YouTube.
He just accepts sort of the default. Okay.
Yeah, whatever frame YouTube picks automatically when he uploads a video, that's what he goes with.
Yeah.
I don't think he's changed. I'll have to look again at his channel, but I don't think he's ever made a thumbnail.
He's an outlier. He's like, Etho is so massively popular in this world that I'm so attuned to every time that we're on the Hermitcraft server and he pops on. Like, you know, my chat will like, Etho's here, and that's awesome. I'm so attuned to that you just said Etho, and I almost looked for the chat, and we're live recording. This is a local recording. I don't know what I was looking for, but yeah, I don't. You're right. He's an outlier, right? And so that's I don't.
But he's proven that it's not everything. You know what I mean?
Not everything, but it is anecdotal, and you can't. That is. I feel like it's so unbelievably rare to have what Etho has that we shouldn't even talk about.
But then there's the flip side of that coin, where Mr. Beast, every pixel on a thumbnail has been very psychoanalyzed to hook a person. You know what I mean? Like from color choice to the size of his head on his body, like the whiteness of his teeth. You know what I mean? Like they've like got it nailed to a science. Yeah. You know,
Mr. Beast is. He is next level, dude. I mean, I can't even. Do you watch his stuff? Any of it?
I don't.
So I didn't, and I would say I've watched less than 5% of what he's put out there. But of what I've watched, my mind has been blown at what he's been able to accomplish 100% of the time that I've seen his stuff. Like to the point where I'm like, what am I not understanding here? There's no way that this video, no matter how popular it got, made enough money to cost what this video took to make. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this video alone, first of all, in the video, I think he's already given away like $10 million. So there's that. And I can look and the budget it probably took to pull this off was probably about $20 million. I'm like, this video probably cost him a bare minimum of $30 million, not to mention, I can't even wrap my head around the millions of pages of legal forms that had to be done. Like it's a business, you know what I mean? Yeah. Every video takes the weight of a business to pull this off. I don't understand how he does it, dude. And then at the end, you'd think that he would be the guy that doesn't need to worry about the thumbnail, but he does, like you're saying, he's down to the pixel. He's done every single one of them works. Every thumbnail makes me go, ooh, you know what I mean? Yeah. Every one of them does, dude. Yeah. You know what? I think, I'm going to say this. This is how good he is. He either has a video or does not have a video that I think is a very interesting concept. Now, why would I say it like that? Well, because this concept was so brutal in regards to, from a psychoanalytical standpoint, that I don't think I could do it. And I'm going to tell you what the challenge is, but here's the deal. I went looking for it. I couldn't find it. I'm like, did I dream this up? I think I may have dreamed it. So if you know what I'm talking about, put the link in the comment section, because I want to find this video. This is what I think it is. And if this isn't real, Mr. Beast, you should do this. I think he did. I had to. I don't think I thought this up, but I can't find it. So I'm like, did I dream this up? It was this. And we're a billion miles off topic, but I don't care because this is fascinating. I want to get this. I haven't said this to anybody. Could you, Impulse, spend 10 days in a padded room, and at the end of it, you get $1 million. So it's $100,000 a day. And if you don't have to make it the whole way. If you make it 2 days, that's $200,000, right? But you do have to complete the days. The days themselves are milestones. But here's the caveat, dude. Okay. It is like, it's a padded room about the size of a jail cell. Cannot leave. It's got a bed. It's got a toilet. Obviously, they're going to find a way to feed you. No cell phone, no computer, no TV, no books, no music, no pencils, no paper, nothing. Zero stimulus.
Just you.
Zero stimulus. Okay. Now I did some quick math and it came out to like, it averaged as around $10 a second is what you're making.
Yeah.
Which seems pretty cool, obviously, but you don't even know.
Yeah, how long?
Because
time would slow down like crazy. Yeah.
You'd probably be like, and you'd probably be like, I feel like we've got to be like hours away from 10 days. And if somebody was able to tell you, they'd be like, you're 3.5 days in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was probably how it would feel, right? So I found myself, now I think most people would be like, no problem, I could do that. But really, 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 really think about it.
Well, that's what they used to like throw people in the hole or whatever in prisons because it was that. It was like a torture.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I think it was the Birdman they threw in the hole at Alcatraz. And I listened to a tape because you've been to Alcatraz? Have you been there? You know, they do the.
I went around it. I didn't go in it.
Oh boy. So inside it, you can actually put on a headset and you do a walking tour and it speaks to you. And I heard the actual interview from, I believe it was Birdman. And I believe it was him. And he was in the hole for, I think, a week. And it's not only is he in the hole, but it's pitch black. I mean, that's next level.
Yeah.
And he said he tore a button off of his shirt and he would flip it in the air and then he would look for the button. And then when he found it, he'd flip it in the air and he would look for the button because he had to do something. And that's all there was to do.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's all there was to do. This is a testament to how desperate the brain is for activity. This is what the episode on Black Mirror was about, right? Was this consciousness, right? And it was a single consciousness, and she thought she was alive, but she wasn't. She was a digital representation of somebody's consciousness. In order to get her to kind of be a slave to that person, they isolated her for 6 months. And when she came back, she would do anything. I just need something to do, because she was just in a white box for 6 months, right? That's what 10 days. Okay, so Mr. Beast, do it. It's a good idea. Maybe you did.
I think he did.
Maybe,
I think I remember.
It sounds like it's right up his alley.
I don't watch the videos. I've subscribed and I see the thumbnails come across, and I do think I remember seeing.
Do you? Okay, so I was like, why?
Come across.
I wanted to watch it, and I was going through his whole catalog. I'm like, what? Did I imagine this?
I think.
And it's right up his alley, dude.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, dude? Okay, so
I don't think I could make it 10 days.
I think
if I had to guess, I think I would make it maybe 3. And that would be a stretch.
That would be a stretch, dude. That would be tough. You know what I mean? And I told myself the trick I would do is I would remind myself after having done the math, and I may be wrong about this because I did it all in my head, because I was like, I'm going to do it in my head because that's how I'd have to do it there. There's not going to be a calculator. There's nothing, dude. Nothing. And I was like, I think I got it down to around $10 a second.
It would take me 3 days to do that math.
No. Then you're out. I told myself, if I was doing this, I started to lose my mind. I'd be like, okay, I'm losing my mind, so I'm going to go back to work and make some money. 1, 2, 3. And I would count, and every time I got to 10, I'd be like, $100, 11, 12. That's what, and I would lose my mind, dude.
Yeah. I would just hope I could sleep.
That's just it.
You know?
That's just it. You'd want to sleep the whole time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can I just sleep 24 hours a day?
Oh
man. I don't think
know.
so. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
we got a little off topic, but
we did. But I wanted to talk about that because it sounds so crazy. But that's another thing I've been doing this past year, is keeping my mind as open as possible to what else is out there for me. And one of them, I talked about this. I'm not definitely going to do this, but might start a reaction channel. You know what I mean? Because those look like they're fun. They look like they're fun, and I got a stupid, goofy, gummy face that I can make silly faces with, and and not even be forced to. I could, you know, what I
Gummy
mean?
face.
I could do fun things there, you know. So I'm always looking for what else am I interested in, because I'm loving everything I'm doing,
Yeah.
but I also have a very weird person. I get bored fast, so I want to stay attuned to what else is.
Yeah,
next.
doing new things and trying
Yeah.
new things is actually it's really good. It's good for you, and I think it's good for the viewers too.
Yeah.
You know, like anytime something new, a new season of something we're doing comes along, or a new idea like Guess the Build or whatever, it's always an exciting thing. So I would encourage that. You know, like Hermitcraft is great, and I feel like it's kind of like our bread and butter. It's always good to have that. But to explore outside of that world is a good thing to do. Like there's a lot of stuff I want to do too. And we have so much equipment and stuff now. As I look around the room at like all the cameras and lights and stuff, I'm just like, I want to find ways to use all this cool stuff, all this cool gear that we have. You know what I mean? So my head's been spinning in that direction too. So we'll see what's to come.
And also, I'm a big advocate. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Right. So there's the whole start, stop, continue thing. This is a corporate exercise, but it's just common sense. Reflect on something and think about the things that, okay, based on what we learned, what do we want to start doing? What do we want to keep doing? Right. That's a continue. And what do we need to stop doing? Right.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to keep doing is I really like the collabs that you and I do. And I'm glad we're finishing Split Fiction, and you and I have an idea of what the next one is that we're going to go after. It's not out yet. I am pumped. I love the idea of having something to look forward to in my life. And this is one of those things. That game has not come out yet, and I'm pumped for it because you and I are going to hit the ground running on it, and we're going to have the greatest time.
Yeah,
so
let's just hope we're both in town this time when the game comes out.
Please, seriously.
That was part of the Split Fiction issue.
Dude.
Was you were out of town, I think, for like a week, and when it came out, and by the time you got back, it's like all of our friends had already played it, and we're like,
and finished it, and it was old news. Like that sucked. But hopefully that's not the case, and hopefully we're able to get to it early. And I aspire to this day for you and I to become the poster children of collab-based games. I want developers of collab-based games salivating over the idea of getting Imp and Skizz to play their game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's
and then
that's
we'll play their game, and then they could come on the podcast and talk about the making of the game.
Yes.
Oh,
this is a very good idea.
Then we get double dip and stuff.
A double dip.
Yeah. We like our dip.
We're gonna double dip it up.
Sometimes I'm a dip.
Yeah, you're always a dip. So anyway, so that was fun. We were just kind of reflecting on the last year and what's been learned, and it's been I can't say it enough. It's been such a fun ride, and I'm so anxious for more. But I don't want to be complacent. I want to get better at my craft.
Yeah.
You know, I worked in 20 years and I was a fish out of water the whole time. I never belonged there, and I still was able to do good things because I'm kind of stubborn like that. But I am now in an area I super enjoy. I don't feel like a fish out of water all the time. And I just want to get as good at my craft as possible, you know, squeeze every last drop out of this lemon. You know?
Well, let's just hope this journey keeps continuing and we keep learning, and with learning means improvement.
Yeah.
So
keep having fun. Okay. I got to get back to work, editing the podcast. I got to go edit Big B, and hopefully you enjoyed it last week.
Yeah. See you, everybody.